Hey Luminary, welcome back to another episode of the Savvy Luminary. In celebration of a Libra season and attraction, I'm going to be diving into a little bit more about my design process using astrology and just basic branding. I'll also be sharing some client examples as we co-create together. So listen in. Welcome to the Savvy Luminary podcast, Astrology for Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Leslie Tagorda, creator of the AstroBrand method, business astrologer, brand designer, author, and Aquarius boss woman. I help visionary spiritual entrepreneurs and impact makers like you illuminate and amplify your unique star powers so you can be the luminary you were born to be. All right, Luminary, I'm so excited because this episode, I'm going to be sharing a little bit of the behind the scenes of what we do with design. If you don't already know, I've shared my story a little bit way back, but I've had a design business, or this business has essentially been a design business since about 2004. Yes, a very long time. I started out as a brand and a web designer, and then as things evolved and as I started working in more astrology, I really turned that branding and that design aspect into finding our identity. And so the design aspect is just like one part of our business, our visual design. And so today I want to share with you a little bit about our design process and extending on the episode 77. So if you listen back to episode 77, creating an aligned visual brand using astrology, in that episode, I share with you if you have strong Venus on your ascendant or your midheaven, or if you're a Taurus or a Libra rising, how you need to have a visual brand to get started and to have that as a jumping off point. For the rest of us, they are not needs, they are simply desires, and you can still want it, right? I share also how our visual design and our visual identity is only the tip of the iceberg, and that if you don't have your vision and your position of who you serve and what you do so well, and if you don't have your voice set up, your personality and what you are here to say, the visual part is always going to start lacking, because that visual part has to capture all of that other energy of your brand positioning, your brand vision, your brand values, and your brand voice. And if you don't have that, then your visual identity, you're just guessing. You're not saying much. You basically have an empty shell. So, if you don't already have your brand vision of how to differentiate and position your brand from the rest of your competitors or the rest of the businesses that are in your field, if you don't have your specific brand values that really connect you to your soul customers through your values, your mission, your social impact, and your purpose, and then if you don't have your brand voice, your core messaging, none of that's going to matter. So if you have all of those things, your brand vision, your values, and your voice, then yes, let's dive into how to use not only just like regular like design processes, which I want to share with you, but how to use your astrology to create that visual brand. So let's dive in. Now, you might remember my story when I was sharing about my business back in 2017 and 2018, where I was just ready to throw in the towel because I was doing all of these design projects for my clients and we were getting okay results, but ultimately we were just guessing. And we had this terribly long cycle of experimentation. I just remember back in those days, our design projects would take years. I'm not kidding you. They just like drained the life out of me because my clients couldn't decide on what they wanted, and I wasn't able to give them like clear insight as to making the best decision. But when I started using astrology in our design processes, that process it shrunk down, and we were creating just such high impact results because we weren't guessing. We had clear energies on which to capture. And so back in episode 77, I share with you that our rising sign and and our midheavens are our most visual energies that we need to capture in our brand. I mentioned also that we tend to fall back onto the comfort of our moon sign if we're not really being clear and stretching into our potentials, right? So when we started using astrology in our visual brand, we discovered that, everything is energy that we're just now capturing through colors, through fonts, through personalities, through different kinds of symbols. And so that's when things started to really open up, and the results that we are getting from the design perspective on our end of just everything coming through so much more easily and with flow, and then our clients being super ecstatic over the results. But on top of that, then our clients being able to attract their soul customers. It was just like this win, win, win situation when we started using astrology to stop guessing, to stop going with just trends, and then stretching into that beautiful process of using astrology to reach our highest potential. So today I want to share with you 6 different design projects. I rarely talk about our design projects, even though we are under the covers always building out beautiful design projects, visual identities for visionary entrepreneurs. And so, one of the beautiful things that, having done this since 2004 is that we have this great process that we bring people through in terms of design. Yes, now we start all of our design processes with an AstroBrand session where I'm looking at their natal astrology, making sure it's aligned to their current vision, their current voice, and then creating that style for them. And so in our AstroBrand processes, I'll take a client through either 2 or 4 sessions to begin with, where we're really creating those foundational pillars for their brand position, the what a brand does so well, the why a brand is created, and what is that undercurrent that is driving that business, the how we show up as a leader, and then the who we are serving. Of course, our signature systems and any other design elements that need to come through. And then after we have that design, that kind of discovery phase of that AstroBrand session, Jeff and I and our team, and we actually have a larger team for our design, we create a mood board that is going to inform. And so at each step of these processes, we actually have a checks and balances so that there are no surprises. It's not like we're just creating this design and we're saying, here you go, I hope you're happy. It's never like that. At each pillar of milestone of the design process, we're getting buy-in, we're getting check-in from you, the customer. So the first thing is we create this mood board. We grab all of these inspirational images. The customer creates some of the images from a Pinterest board. We create some of them and we curate that together. So we have this mood board that serves as inspiration for our visual brand, what is going to be created. And so after we get that buy-in, then we start with the logo. The logo, we start actually with a sketch, and we're always designing the logos in black and white. And our goal, unless like the client is like, I want a specific icon or a specific symbol, our job on our team end is we create these different sketch concepts in black and white. When we're designing a logo, my team and I, we have an illustrator, we have Jeff who's doing some production, and then we have me that is doing like the visual direction, the creative direction. We're creating these sketch concepts in its lowest common denominator. We want to see things in black and white so we can make sure that we're having the right balance of negative space, of positive space, at just the lowest common denominator. And then from those 3 concepts, then the customer, you, would be giving us direct feedback as to bring in more of this, or I don't like that. And we really appreciate just open honesty and transparency. And it's okay if our customers don't like our first concepts. We want complete 100% buy-in. After we get the concept really nailed in and finalized, that's where we start to perfect it and put in all of the details, but not too many details, because a logo needs to be simple and it has to have this integrity, whether it's a small size. Sometimes we're seeing like logos of this very teeny tiny size, like as a fave icon, or sometimes you're going to see it really big. So ultimately, at the end of the logo process, we are giving several variations to you with all of its glorious detail. And so when we're delivering a final product, you're going to have all of these different variations so that you can use it in various contexts and different mediums. So after we have the concept of the logo and that is perfected, that's when we start adding on the different layers. We then pick some colors, we pick design elements that will encompass the suite. We curate different types of photos and the types, and document the types of photos that will best work with that particular identity, even consult on a photo shoot for that brand. And coming back to the visual identity, we're selecting a color palette and choosing several primary colors. Depending on the brand, a brand might be very strict and using, say, just several, like 3 colors. But there's also other brands that are more expansive and that change with the seasons. And like our brand here at New Moon Creative with my Gemini rising, I'm going to have a brand that is going through all of these different colors. Yes, we have some purple and some navy and some black and white that we're consistently using, but we are shifting through the seasons and really pulling in the colors of the different zodiacs. So in addition to the colors, we would also be creating a suite of fonts, a font family that all work beautifully together. And then we also create other design elements so that there's a full suite. Now, we love putting things up in Canva for our clients so that you have all of your templates easy to use with all of the different assets already there at your fingertips. Of course, you would get PDFs and AI files and everything that you need to do to hand it forward to your VA or to your designers and just grow the visual brand. And just like your brand, our visual brand, it does evolve. Hopefully there's elements that are going to stay consistent, but we love to create a visual identity platform that is scalable and evolves with you and that is very interchangeable. So it's really super, super easy to use. And then just recently, we've done these beautiful brand intensives where we're not just creating the visual identity, but we're creating a brand book. So in the episode that I'm sharing with Tiana McLeese, I don't know if that episode is coming out before this episode that you're hearing or right after, I share with Tiana's story how we did the deep dive of the AstroBrand sessions, the 4 discovery sessions, but from that, we created a full brand book where we told the story of the brand and put together all of the brand vision and the values and the voice. And we worked with a copywriter to help us fine tune all of those core messaging so that Tiana had this beautiful book. So when she sent out to her own copywriter, to her team that manages all of her social media, to her web designer, they didn't have to start from scratch. She had this beautiful book that really onboarded all of her vendors and all of her clients super quickly because she had her whole brand encompassed in this one beautiful brand book. And so that is a offer that we are doing called the Brand Intensive. So brand, doing that, starting with the AstroBrand sessions, building out the brand book, and then doing the brand visual identity and design, and then website. So we have you covered from the beginning to do for you design, and it's so wonderful. So I hope I gave you enough information to show just kind of that process that we go through from that discovery phase of the AstroBrand sessions, that we find your unique energy that you need to bring out in your design, in your visual identity, not just your visual identity, but your entire brand. Then the mood board, Then we go through the logo design. Then we start adding on the colors, your color palettes, all of your design elements, all of your different font families, and putting it all together in this cohesive package that we deliver to you in Canva, as well as a zip file that has all of your design assets. So I absolutely love doing design projects and want to share with you a few of our recent projects that we just really haven't had a time to share with you on social media. So I'm going to be sharing with you 6 different design projects, and these beautiful soul customers have graciously sent in some testimonials about their experience in working with us. So the first project that we have is from Elise Preston from the School of Soulful Abundance. Oh my gosh, I absolutely loved working with Elise. She is a Taurus rising and a Capricorn midheaven with the ruler of Taurus in her 9th house. So Venus, Taurus rising, Libra rising, check. Elise needed a beautiful brand to launch her Soulful Abundance School. And we chose these beautiful yet vibrant pinks. We chose this flowy, but really solid because of that Capricorn midheaven. We needed something that it could feel like this really beautiful, solid foundation to call in her intuitive, powerful Scorpio clients. We absolutely adored working on this project. We just love seeing with how Elise took this design project and ran with it. Everything from her amazing visuals on her Facebook account, on her Instagram account, to her playlists that she has on Spotify. So check out Elise and what she had to say. We just did a beautiful job, I think so, with her Soulful Abundance. So check out Elise Preston's work.
Hi, my name is Elise Preston, and I am the Soulful Business Mentor and Human Design Guide behind Be More Connected. And through my work, I support visionary entrepreneurs, primarily women of color entrepreneurs, with remembering their soul mission and finding the courage to pursue it so that they can increase their abundance and social impact. And I first reached out to Leslie for her design support in advance of the launch of my virtual summit, the Soulful Abundance Festival, and also before opening enrollment for my first group program. And when I first started working with New Moon Creative, some of my initial hopes were to have support with creating a really beautiful visual brand and identity for my summit launch, including a banner and speaker graphics and just some promo and collateral for the event. And I was also looking for their support with creating a new logo for the business for Be More Connected more broadly, and some graphics and design for my group program. So to go along with the group program, I was looking for a branded sales page and a workbook template and a slide deck template. So I had a lot of design support that I was looking for, and it was really great that they had such inclusive and comprehensive packages that could really meet all of the needs that I was looking for. And as a Taurus rising, it always feels really important to me to be able to have a visually appealing and beautiful brand. And so really one of my key desires in working with New Moon Creative was to have their support with creating a really stunning and aligned visual brand so that I just felt confident promoting myself and increasing my visibility around the time of the summit launch and the program launch. And what I received back from them even exceeded my expectations. I really feel like Leslie and Jeff were so on point with capturing my desires and the energy of my business. And now I feel so thrilled that, just feel really thrilled with the way that every piece turned out. And now when I look at my logo and the branding, I feel like it really feels like me. And I love also that they've uploaded everything that I could possibly need into my personal Canva account so that I can continue to use these assets moving forward and continue to create my own designs on an as needed basis. And so I was definitely really pleasantly surprised with how smooth and intuitive this whole process felt, because I have had the experience of working with a few other designers, and it felt like a little bit more of a heavy lift in terms of having other designers understand my goals and my desires and my vision for my brand. But because Leslie and Jeff understood me and understood my birth chart, it really helped the design process feel so much more flowy and smooth and easeful. And so, with this new visual identity, I felt really confident and really supported to increase the visibility of my business during the season where I was launching. And I was able to reach my goal of having over 1,000 people subscribe to my virtual summit, and then reach my enrollment goal of enrolling 10 women of color into the first cohort of the School of Soulful Abundance. And so, as a Taurus rising, as a Libra moon, it just felt so amazing to be able to have a really beautiful visual brand that I love. And I feel really grateful to have found Leslie actually through another entrepreneur's podcast. And yes, would just so highly recommend New Moon Creative to any and all business owners.
The next project I want to share with you is from Grace Van Cleave. She is also a Venus ruled rising sign with her Libra rising. She also has right on her ascendant, she has Saturn, Mars, powerful Pluto, and Jupiter all in the first house. So I knew we had to create something that was very vibrant, very energetic, and very, very bright with that Mars Saturn in there. Saturn told us that we had to have something that was a little bit more traditional, something that was still within the box, yet fiery. And not to say in the box as in boring, not at all, but in the box meaning that it would be timeless, that it could withstand all of the trends and still show up as this classic brand for this Libra rising. Grace Van Cleave, an amazing stylist. She serves her Aries ideal customers who are leaders in their field that need to feel empowered by the way that they show up and that they dress. Grace also has her beautiful Cancer at the midheaven with her sun right at her midheaven. She is a true influencer. And so with the Cancer midheaven there, we had to bring in all of these oceanic and sensitive blues. So in her visual identity, we created a very classic, very timeless emphasis on grace because people want grace, amazing grace styling. We brought in traditional patterns and shapes like polka dots and stripes and these things that are timeless, but we did pops of unexpectedness so that it would have that fire that she has her Mars in Libra. And I just absolutely love how Grace Van Cleave's visual identity showed up. So here's what Grace had to say.
Hi, I'm Grace Van Cleave. I am the founder and chief stylist at Amazing Grace Styling. I'm a personal stylist specializing in helping women entrepreneurs look and feel like their best selves so they can go out and conquer the world. When I was rebranding, I previously had done a styling business that was focused more on courses, online courses. And I realized that I really wanted to work with people individually, one-on-one. And I just felt like that the other branding, while it was lovely, it did not capture what I wanted Amazing Grace Styling to look like. And I started reaching out, I reached out to several different designers, and I'd worked with Leslie before with astrology, and I loved her work. And of course, I initially was like, oh, I'd love to hire Leslie, but I thought, oh, why don't I spend a little less? That will be better. And I remember talking with these other women who were lovely and had beautiful work. But I just decided, I was like, let me just talk to Leslie. And when I spoke to her, she was the person who really understood my business to its core, that I wasn't looking to just be like, just the fashion girl trying to attract, skinny, blonde, rich women, that I really wanted to help entrepreneurs and, as she identified, risk-taking leaders. And I wanted this to be a brand of substance. Oftentimes people, when they think of fashion, they might think of materialism, and that really this is about capturing the progressive woman. She's in a place where she's doing amazing, she's doing well, her business is going well, but there's something that is holding her back from really shining out in the world. My concerns were with this graphic design, with this branding, was that I would go to someone and they would just see it as just like, oh, you're just a personal stylist. Well, we'll make it white, black and white, and kind of like the Vogue font, and there you go. And I wanted to really stand out and look different. I really wanted it to be a welcoming place where women of all ages, of all body types, of all ethnicities could feel welcome, that this was a place for them, especially because people really have some traumatic experiences when it comes to style and shopping, whether it's going to stores with friends and they couldn't fit in anything, or deciding that you're going to go shop and nobody will help you, or facing discrimination. And so I wanted to make sure that people knew, like, this is for intelligent, smart, progressive women who also want to look good and want to be their best. Now that the work is completed, I'm blown away. I really had no idea what I wanted. I knew I'm somebody who's always liked color, but I would see when Leslie and I looked at my natal chart and we looked at what I was looking, what was in there, she was the first person to capture my business perfectly. And I'm a Libra rising, so I knew it needed to look good, especially being in style. It wouldn't work if I just had this like cheap branding and said, trust me with your fashion, trust me with my fashion sense. I really wanted to invest it in branding, even though sometimes people say, oh, it's not important. I think it's very important, especially as a Libra rising. I'm also an Aries moon, and she understood that there's got to be a little bit of a kick. And so I think the surprises that came for me is I didn't quite, when I was making my kind of mood board, I realized how attracted I was to just cleanliness and clean lines and interesting fonts. And Leslie was able to figure that out. And what I also love is that she knew what I knew before I knew I needed it. She was saying like, all right, we're going to do these different colors and patterns that you can use for different seasons. And I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll use that. Well, I'm using it all the time. And it adds just such a richness and texture to the brand instead of just having 4 brand colors and calling it a day. I've found when I am giving people my branding for other designers, whether it's designing a website, designing an opt-in, I think that investment in branding makes it so that everything looks really elevated. I'm amazed. My website is about to launch and I'm amazed at what it looks like. And she kept saying over and over, she's like, you have really strong branding. It's really easy to work with really good branding. I love that when I go to my Instagram, it's all branded, that when I send out when I post a recording from a podcast, it's not just this like lame, photo that I like, something that I did on WordSwag, which there's nothing wrong with that. But now it has pattern and logo. I mean, there's just so much that can be done that helps me stand out and looks like a brand that is professional and is something that is open for business, not just, I think we all have I shouldn't say we all. I know that I can struggle with imposter syndrome, which used to be a lot worse than it is. But Leslie's branding, Leslie and Jeffrey, their branding really gave me the confidence to show up in the world, which is what I want for my clients. I want them to have that the external looks great, that they feel confident then spreading their message. So it's kind of the same thing. I am absolutely amazed by what they were able to come up with. And I, wholeheartedly, really urge people to work with them. And that's what I appreciated most, is that I think it's very easy with a personal stylist to just kind of say, oh, I'll just, whip something up that's super feminine and cutesy and girly. And that works for some people, but that's not my client and that's not me. I want something that really captures people. Like this is like nothing else. And they absolutely did that.
The next brand visual identity that we wanted to share with you is for a nonprofit called Green Schools National Network, which is the brain and love child of the executive director, Jennifer Seidel. We were so thrilled when they came to us for a visual identity. They had a really, really big ask because Green Schools National Network is a nonprofit organization on the national level that's really trying to change the ways that schools look at them as a holistic organization, from the facilities to the nutrition, to the communities, to the leadership. Jennifer had this vision of seeing a school as a whole organism, and she created this massive framework on how schools needed to operate to really serve children in a holistic way. And so that made my heart sing because she has her Virgo sun in the second house and her Aquarius moon, meaning there has to be some innovation. But she has this Leo rising, just this beautiful, joyful, open-heartedness, service to the children. And then Taurus at the midheaven. So with Taurus at the midheaven being ruled by Venus, yes, we had this visual brand that had to look as beautiful and as strong and powerful as her brand. I hope you get a chance to peek at the brand that we designed for, if you're not watching on video, I hope you have a chance to peek at the visual identity that we created, because the logo that we created, that are my illustrator, my number one illustrator, Ellie Kotari, and Jeff and I, the vision that we had created for the visual brand, not only does the logo work as its standalone piece, but it is also illustrates the framework of the Green Schools National Network. So there's a 4-petaled flower, and each of those flowers has symbols for the 4 pillars of the Green Schools National Network. We absolutely loved working for this nonprofit. So have a listen to what Jennifer and Victoria, her right-hand woman, have to say about this visual identity that we've created for the Green Schools National Network.
Hi, I'm Victoria Holmes, Interim Managing Director for the Green Schools National Network.
And I'm Jennifer Seidel. I'm the Executive Director for the Green Schools National Network.
Working with New Moon, I think I was really interested in breathing some energy into the brand, making it more vibrant, creating a visual identity that would make our potential partners, funders, members, and activists in the ecosystem really want to join the network and get excited about what the Green Schools National Network offers.
So Victoria, as our interim managing director, has an amazing creative side. And while I love the colors of our earlier look, I knew that it was time for a change because our organization was moving through a change and is moving through a change and growing. And so really reaching out to somebody to work with us to be able to create a visual and image that grabbed people and showed demonstratively the shift in who we were becoming and the shift in the organization. So I was super excited when Victoria found New Moon, and amazingly awed by the process that we went through to create our new image.
Yeah, I think that part was key. We were in the midst of an entire organizational redesign and such a shift strategically for where we want the organization to go. And so it just felt like the right time, or like we would be missing an opportunity if we were addressing all the nuts and bolts, but didn't address the larger and outer form of the organization.
Yeah. As each different element has been revealed in not just the reshaping of the website, but the imagery around all of the work that we're doing, as each new element has been revealed, it has just been like, how did they do this? How did they capture the feeling and the sense that we wanted. It was from that initial graphic of a really diverse group of people on a stack of books with greenery in it to really reflect school community was amazing. And then the image that they created for our green print to pull the richness of colors together from the imagery from the website to the branding of the green print. It's just been an amazing process and I love it. And people are saying, you know, what they're asking, who did your redesign? Who did your rebrand? Because it is so refreshing and so exciting.
I've worked on many rebrands over the course of my career, and I think it's definitely a sign if people don't notice, if people don't ask, if they don't inquire or compliment the new look. And we have heard such extraordinary feedback from day one of relaunching the new website and announcing our rebrand from all of our partners, from those who have never worked with us, for those in our candidate pool who we've been interviewing for new jobs. Everybody has mentioned the new branding, the colors, and how it makes them feel connected to the mission of the work that we are doing.
Absolutely. I never realized how important it was. And I've gone, you know, not as a leader, but I've gone through rebranding in other organizations. And, you know, half the time they invest a year or more in this rebranding process. And then they come up with something and it's meh, you know, it's not that dramatic. This was a dramatic shift and done in a relatively short period of time. I think the interview process with Leslie and Jeffrey allowed them to get a sense of who we are and who we were becoming, that you know, intuitively led them to something that was just amazing.
For me, an aha moment during the process was realizing how in alignment, maybe not an aha moment, but realizing how in alignment that Jenny and I are, especially considering that we both have Virgo in our charts pretty prominently. And so this idea of helping us communicate the vision for holistic transformation in schools and school districts, that was a really great moment in the process.
Oh, absolutely. I would totally agree. I think that part of the process, I think, brought us together as a team, you and I together as a team, but, you know, even sharing, you know, a new vision for the organization in that process was amazing. You know, like I was not expecting that in a rebranding process, but probably one of my favorite parts about the outcomes. So,
yeah, I think that the biggest outcome, the biggest aha is that New Moon exists, that somebody's out there leading this work from this perspective. I think that's the biggest aha. When I was introduced to them, I was like, oh my God, where have they been my whole career, right? So it was super exciting to bring them into to our organization and have this work done. And I think since we've launched, it's added to our confidence as an organization that is growing and scaling. You know, before we knew that there were some things that we wanted to update on the website. And so sometimes we were kind of a little passive when it came to promoting ourselves and tooting our own horn. But we're now so proud of the visual image and the branding and the new language that we've written for the website that we can't, you know, resist the urge now to just share more about who we are, what we're doing, and our passion for shaping education for a sustainable future.
Shout it from the mountaintops. I absolutely agree. I think it's a new era and it's a launch of a new era. It's a launch of a deeper commitment to this work and a bolder commitment to this work. And the visuals share that. They are bold and they are brilliant. And it matches the vision mission of the organization and the commitment, the deepening commitment for this work and the necessity of this work. So Victoria, I want to thank you for bringing them into our circle. I'm super excited and super excited to sustain the relationship with New Moon as we keep moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, New Moon.
Okay, on to our next project for the magnificent Natalie Miller. So Natalie Miller and I go back, not way back, I mean, back since 2018, since we met each other in a mastermind. And I just adore this witchy soul. We have so many interests. She loves astrology. I love astrology. And she is a Pisces rising, serving her Virgo ideal customers. And she has Sagittarius at the midheaven. So inspirational, aspirational, visionary, dreamy, witchery, conjuring. Yes. So when Natalie came to me to ask us to design a visual identity for her new podcast and her new business name, Mind Witchery, oh my gosh, this was like a dream come true. And so she wanted something that was deep and mysterious, where she's really taking her clients, her coaching clients, on this journeying process to conjure and create what they want in their lives and her business. And if you don't already know Natalie Miller and her podcast, Mind Witchery, please check it out. She's always dropping what she calls charms and little spells, and it is pure brilliance. So when we were creating a visual identity for her, we literally created her a world. We created this mysterious planet, this beautiful blend of colors. And I'm just like in awe of what we created. And we created this kind of splash, this messiness in her visual identity of Mind Witchery, because this process is messy and we wanted to capture that in this beautiful way. Natalie also has her Libra sun with Pluto and Venus and her North Node all in Libra. So of course we had to create something that was just absolutely beautiful. We'll be working with Natalie on an upcoming project to come. I can't wait to see what we create. It's still in the cauldron, so to say, seeping in and being formed at this moment. Super excited. So please listen to what the visionary Natalie Miller has to say about her design project, co-creating with us.
Hi, my name is Natalie Miller. I am a coach for people who are pivoting into more self-honoring work and living, and I am host of a podcast called Mind Witchery. And I'm really excited to talk to you about my experience working with New Moon Creative, because it was so extraordinary and rewarding. I wanted a new visual identity for a couple of reasons. One, very practically, I had a new project. I had a podcast coming out, and I wanted to be sure that the art and the branding for my podcast really expressed the vibe of it. So that was one reason. The second reason was that I had just experienced a real evolution in my work. The clientele I was working with was a little bit different. I had a deeper understanding of actually what I do and how I help, and a deeper understanding also, just or more clarity, I guess, more clarity around like how I operate, like kind of energetically speaking. And I wanted to express that through my brand. So basically, like, I had evolved, and I also had a clearer understanding of who I was, and I wanted a brand that expressed that. So I knew Leslie and her exquisite taste and her great work already. And when I was first beginning to work with Leslie and Jeffrey, I was really hoping for and expecting them to be able to capture, again, like not just the aesthetic that I was looking for, but also the energy and the vibe. And oh my gosh, they completely did. It's incredible. I'm a Libra. I'm a Libra with a Libra stellium, including Venus in Libra. So I am picky and opinionated, and the
options that they gave me, even, in the beginning, sort of some broader options. And then as we narrowed, it really did feel like this co-creation where my thoughts and opinions and perspectives were totally honored. And at the same time, Leslie and Jeff brought in their own expertise and wisdom, things that I wouldn't necessarily understand, such that now every time I look for my podcast on Spotify, or every time my podcast art comes up in my Apple Podcasts app, I feel this sort of elation that it's so gorgeous, and it really does evoke exactly the energy that I wanted. So that's just the best. Working with them in the process of creating, I really realized how important that co-creativity is to me. And I think that the best products, the best sort of creations come when it's multifaceted, right? Like that's kind of what makes it glitter. So it's not just my idea, but it's also a couple of Leslie's ideas and a couple of tweaks. And I definitely feel like my brand glitters like something multidimensional, and it feels like something, I think, that not only works right now, but it's also something that I feel I can kind of expand into, like when you get a new house, and it's like, yeah, I could be here for a while. This feels like it's me now, but it also feels like there's room to grow. So that's just the best feeling. In fact, I'm working with New Moon again to create kind of a spin-off or a sister brand for another project that I'm doing that I want to be sort of related, but also, like a cousin to the original project. And that's what I mean by it has this ability to expand. And I always think that's really what makes an amazing visual identity. It's like, it works right now, but it's going to work for a while. Like it can grow with me. So now that I've been using my brands for a while, I love how many elements there are that are really, really handy. And so, there's kind of there's the color scheme, and then the color scheme is a little bit flexible so that I can evoke different moods within it. And, I wouldn't have known how to design that, but Leslie and Jeff did. And there's a logo mark that I love. And there's some tropes that I get to tap into. My brand is called Mind Witchery. And so it's a little bit witchy, and it's a little bit woo, and it's a little bit extra, sort of evokes that more rebellious occult element. And I love subtle ways that it does that, like through a font choice or through the way that some of the accents work within the brand. So I could not be happier. You should totally go take a look at the gorgeous way that Leslie and Jeff were able to really kind of like create a visual identity that expresses my vibe in all of its complexity, and that also gets to grow with me.
Our most recent project, this was just released on our last Libra equinox, is from the amazing Shelby Bach, also known on Instagram as Shelby Bach, and her organization called the Journey Pen Project. She is a published author. She writes these amazing adventure stories for youth and young adults. And she wanted to create this teaching platform where she's teaching other writers how to really write the adventures that are in her heart. Her Sagittarius rising and her Libra midheaven, of course, another, like this Venus is always in here with these strong visual identities, like, yes, Venus. And so we wanted to create something that was visionary for her. In the logo that we illustrated for her, we used the pen, a fountain pen shape, that as the pen drops down to the paper, an adventure sprays forth. And Jeff did such an amazing job with the video aspect of this. So now that video is such an important part of our visual identity, we're now really taking that the standalone logo, but thinking it to the next 3D level of how does a logo present itself? How does it kind of get born and take its first breath from a visual aspect? So we had a pleasure. Take a look if you're watching on video. Notice how the pen drops and then the spray and the imagination comes forth with Shelby's beautiful visual brand. Again, we're sharing all of the visuals on social media, or if you're having a chance to watch this on YouTube, you can capture all of the visual identities. So please take a listen to what Shelby has to say about working with us.
This is Shelby Bach, and I am the founder of the Journey Pen Project, which is a collection of tools, including videos, essays, classes, one-on-ones that help other people build their creative dreams. But I had an AstroBrand session with Leslie that changed my life. In my 10th house, I have the most prominent placement is Venus conjunct the South Node. Most astrologers are going to interpret this as you have huge karmic problems with anything Venusian, money, beauty, love, and it's right there in your 10th house, so it's going to be public. But Leslie, wise, awesome person that she is, she just casually mentioned, oh, you've got Venus conjunct your South Node. That means that you can just rely on those Venusian skills and not really need to worry about it. And then she carried on with the rest of the AstroBrand session. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this woman is so brilliant. So naturally, I also hired her to do my rebranding. I knew I needed to elevate my visual branding. I'd outgrown the old one. I'm the author of a middle grade fantasy adventure series called The Ever Afters, which is about an after school program that trains young fairy tale characters. Middle grade is the same age group and genre as Harry Potter. And so most of my branding revolved around like dragons and kids with swords. With traditionally published books, the publisher really defines the brand of both the book series and also the author. With me stepping out on my own, I knew that I really wanted a brand that matched me. And that's what I told Leslie and Jeff in our very first meeting. It wasn't just that I wanted a brand that looked all grown up. It wasn't just for kids anymore. I wanted a level of professionalism that matched my own. I told Leslie and Jeff, if I wanted to really be a professional, that I needed to hire some professionals to help me with my branding, because I had been working on my own for a while, creating stuff through Canva, and it looked nice, but it didn't match me. It didn't match this, that essence of my brand that I knew that Leslie and Jeff could do for me. And I have to say they absolutely delivered. They had me fill out a questionnaire, and during the process, they give you a few concepts. And one of them, I hadn't told them what my original concept was, but they basically gave that to me elevated. And that wasn't even like the concept that I went with, because they gave me one that was even better. It was this pen nub where the ink is going down into a stream and then going outwards, and it looks amazing. It's like I have this theme in all of my work where the insides of a journey match the outsides of a journey. That logo perfectly reflects that. It's such a relief to go to my logo and to see that matches me, that matches what I'm trying to do, that matches what I'm trying to bring to the world. It is visually beautiful, but it's also powerful. What really surprised me and delighted me about working with Leslie and Jeff is every time I had an idea, they were more than willing to fold it in, but also to give it back to me more beautiful. I had this vision of using some of the photos that I've been collecting, these pictures of roads. Jeff worked his magic on the actual photo so that it has more vibrancy. And he also like throws the logo on there. And all of a sudden it's this beautiful YouTube cover that I wouldn't have even dreamt of. He threw it in the slide deck, and it just has this look of professionalism where I'm thinking, oh my God, did I do that? And the answer is I started that, but then Leslie and Jeff took it to a new level. But that level was taking my dream, my vision, and giving it this beautiful depth and beauty that I couldn't have done on my own. I have to say the ease of using what they've given me is through the roof. I was able to basically revamp my whole author site in 2 days. Just doing that has been huge. I hadn't realized how much I had been holding back in my marketing and drawing people to my website because I was embarrassed that it was a mess. And I am so excited to see what comes through next as I really jump into the whole rebranding of my business.
And last but not least, for this particular episode, I wanted to share the visual brand of the wholehearted coach, Sharon Eskandani. Oh my goodness, this beautiful Leo sun, Sagittarius moon, Libra rising, yes, and Leo midheaven. She already came to us with a beautiful brand with her wholehearted coaching, but she wanted an extension, what I call a child brand, because oftentimes if we have our big brand, but then we're creating offers that need their own identity, I'm looking at these as children of our bigger overarching umbrella brand. And so she came to us with the need to create a visual brand for a new offer called the Alchemy Collective. She wanted to bring in a number of wholehearted women that were going to be working together in this community. And it was such a pleasure to create a child brand off of an existing brand. So with her Libra rising, she also has Pluto and Saturn right there. And so we wanted something that was dark and mysterious. And similar to Natalie Miller's, this idea of this alchemy, we wanted something that felt messy, that felt mysterious, that felt incomplete, yet still beautiful, where we could feel that power of creation. I absolutely loved working with Sharon. She's just been I feel like she's just, like when you meet certain clients, you just have this instant connection. And that was Sharon for me and for Jeff. And I want you to take a look at the visual brand that we created for her new collective and the sales page that we created on the Squarespace platform for her. It was just utter joy to create this messy yet beautiful, where we didn't use any sharp lines. Everything just felt really not like an amoeba, not like amorphous, just like everything was forming. Everything wasn't yet into full, I don't know how to even explain it. Everything just felt mysterious, like it was still coming together, still forming. And that is that energy that she wanted to bring to her beautiful Aries, Taurus, ideal customers. So take a listen to what Sharon has to say.
Hi, my name is Sharon Eskandani, and I am the founder of Wholehearted Coaching. I'm a coach, public speaker, writer, and I call the work that I do life alchemy, which is about creating gold with whatever life gives you. So I was looking for a new visual identity for a course I was creating, actually a membership. And this membership has kind of been years in the making, especially this past year over COVID. I had been really working on and imagining and dreaming up this space. And I had kind of the perfect membership idea in my head of how to do it, all the logistical stuff. However, when it came to the brand identity, that I needed lots of help on. And I kind of knew the energy, the mood that I wanted, but really kind of describing to someone what that was going to look like. I was really worried about that. And I was so happy when I met Leslie and her team. I actually had booked Leslie to work with her to kind of look at my chart, do her AstroBrand reading. And during that, I was like, wait a second, I think you are the perfect person to create the branding for my collective, the Alchemy Collective. And really, some of my biggest concerns at the time were like, how do we take this idea I have in my head? And I'm not a designer, I'm not a visual person, so I can't really describe what that is. But how can we take what I'm like imagining in there and put it on a landing page and make that landing page really be clear and concise, right? Like, here are the things that my audience needs to know, but also really capture the spirit and the energy of this offering, because I think that is a huge part of it too, right? When we go on a landing page, the words help, the images help, but it's like everything together, the colors, the font, the spacing, all of that creates the magic of that page. And so after working with Leslie, after the AstroBrand reading, I kind of knew that she would be able to do that. And I think what was so amazing was that she was able to capture it. Like, I actually have never worked with a designer before, and this isn't to cast shade upon anyone I worked with before, but I've never been able to work with someone. And after like they just showed me their one, idea. This is what we want to do. I was like, that's it. That is it. Usually with a designer, you kind of go back and forth on a lot of different things. Which is wonderful, but it can also become really overwhelming. It's like kind of the same as, when you go get your eye exam and after a certain while, everything starts to look the same. Like, you're not sure which one's blurry, which one's clear. But this was such a refreshing experience with Leslie and her team, because we talked about what it is. I sent over the copy and they just captured it just like that. They sent me over their first examples and I was like, that's it. That is definitely what I want. And that's definitely what I need for this. Really, for me, the biggest aha moment, the biggest realization in all of this was Leslie having that understanding of my chart and also my audience's chart. And then also understanding on a really deep level what I wanted this container to be, what I wanted this offering to be, made this so easy. That's why I think she was so able to capture what I wanted on that landing page with the branding, with everything, with the colors. And of course, she and her team are incredibly insightful and smart and intelligent when it comes to design, but having that extra layer that added the soul to it, right? Like, we go to a lot of pages and they look great. They look fantastic. It's clear and it's concise and it's peppy and it's got great branding, but it lacks soul. And this is what my landing page now has. So much soul, so much of me in it, so much of heart in it, my heart, wholehearted coaching. So that was just one of the greatest things that I got out of this entire process. I think for me, how having this new visual identity with this membership has helped me is it has shown to my audience really who I am. And I think I want to change my entire branding now after this experience, and just kind of hand it over to Leslie so they can really capture that. As entrepreneurs, we start out and we kind of have an idea of who we are. And I think that a lot of our branding ends up reflecting that. It kind of reflects who we are, but it often looks like it's the same thing. Like, you go on these different pages that are in your genre of work, mine is coaching, and things really start to look the same. And that's something that's so incredible about Leslie and her work, is that none of her pages, if you go and look at them, they look the same. There's no like one formula they're following. That formula is just your formula. And I think that is what makes them so incredibly exceptional and amazing, is that when you go to your page, it's your page. It captures your essence. And it's almost like you don't have to verbalize to Leslie and her team what that is. They already know, because they have that really deep understanding of who you are. So I cannot recommend working with Leslie and her team enough. It was an incredibly easy process. They were able to create my favorite landing page of all time and really create a spirit and energy that is so suited to who I am, but that when my audience is just even going to find out about this thing, they understand what it is. They don't need to read the copy. They don't need to look at the pictures. They get it. So I'm just so incredibly thankful and grateful to Leslie and her team. Thank you.
All right, beautifuls. Thank you so much for listening in to this special design episode where we're sharing all these different projects. If you are interested in design, please reach out to me. We are having some pricing reshuffling that's going to be happening in 2022. So if you'd still like to capture our really inexpensive prices that we've had since 2020, then please come through. I hope you can see the value in what we bring. We are not ordinary designers. We are coming in our wholehearted soul. We are consulting with you on the vision of your business and the position of your business. And we are creating not only a visual identity, but a complete identity for you and your business. So enjoy. Let me know what you think of these designs. All right. Thanks. Bye. If you love this podcast, please consider doing me a favor and heading over to Apple iTunes and leaving me a rating and review. Your rating and review helps this humble podcast get seen and found by more listeners like you. Please share the love.